Welcome to the Entrepreneur Stories podcast. Jonathan Herps is your host. He is a strategic advisor, coach, and mentor to entrepreneurial founders, business owners, and CEOs. In this podcast, he chats with entrepreneurs, founders, and CEOs of scaling companies. It centers around their entrepreneurial journey so far and their aspirations for their companies.
Hi there, it's Jonathan Herps again. Welcome back to my podcast, Entrepreneur Stories of Scaling Up. This episode is number 114. And today it's my great pleasure to talk to Valentina Borbone, who I'm told I can call Val. Val, welcome to the call.
Thank you. This is a joy for me.
Oh, great. Thank you. And, really nice change for me. I live in sort of regional New South Wales, and Val is literally a small town 15 minutes away from me. So a special welcome.
Thank you. I found that such a fun element because I've obviously followed you for a really long time. And then I found out you were in Barrel.
It becomes a very small world sometimes.
Oh, very.
That's right. So listen, why don't we start? Tell me a little bit, short form, your entrepreneurial journey so far, and tell us a bit about Banter Group, please.
Excellent. So I'll take you back. It was 2009, I found myself as a general manager of a pretty big agency and a fairly traditional creative media agency, and was pregnant. And having worked agency life my whole life, I also knew that in a client services role, general manager role, that I wasn't going to really be able to return as a part-time employee. And I was only aged 32 and felt redundant. And it's strange things happen when you have children. You really do reevaluate life and priorities. And I took the leap of faith and spoke to my husband about starting my own thing. At the time, it was with another business partner. So we jumped off the edge and we launched a business. And I learned in 5 years lots of new things and left that business at that time. Moved to the Southern Highlands for my daughter. My daughter was born with a disability, a really rare genetic condition. So again, another life reassessment comes over you, and took 2 years off in the Highlands to just sort of chill out, thinking I'd never run an agency again. I'm now, on a different path of life, and found lots of businesses in this area were just doing really terrible things with their marketing, and just started to let them know, really, just don't do that. Do this instead. Put your money here, different outcomes. And within 2 years of moving here and deciding not to run a business, I had registered Banter Group, just some small-time help. And in 8 months, I had 8 employees. We're now 6 years old. We're 15 employees. And that's really where my entrepreneurial journey had started. So what Banter Group is a full-service marketing agency. I think that's a fun term. Lots of agencies use full service, but aren't actually full service. We do everything. So that can include media buying, advertising, not just marketing. They are two different things, and everything in between. So if we prove that we can't do it, we're going to put up our hands and say that's not our gig, or that's not the scale that I can manage and deliver a great product for you. So
right.
All regionally based. We only have 2 team members who do work within a driving or commute distance, or remote workers, but everybody else is hopefully within 20 minutes of an office space and working collaboratively.
Fabulous. Yeah. So listen, I'm going to go off track.
Do go for it.
I've just had an argument with a client. Define marketing for me.
Marketing is promoting your product and service within the areas that your audience actually are.
Okay, so as a CEO coach, I would argue that marketing is generating warm, targeted leads for my sales force.
It's a great definition. Absolutely. I've never met a client that said my objective is not making more money.
Yep.
Very few clients have ever said they've got a different objective. So placing the business, the service, the end goal, the benefit, there's different ways of marketing and meeting to the customer's needs. But yes, most of the time, generate me a warm lead, generate me a sale, make my company more money.
Okay. So my clients tend to be, they're founder CEOs. When they start with me, they tend to be somewhere between 10 and 50 staff. Yeah. Most of them don't have a marketing team, a full marketing team where they start with me. Yeah. How would you work with them? So pick a private regional company
yeah.
with I'm gonna name won't name them 25 staff, so it's a significant company regionally.
Yep.
No marketing team at all.
Yep.
How would you work with them? What would you do? What would you recommend?
Yeah, so look, one of our engagements is actually to act as the CMO or the Chief Marketing Officer for the organisation. So think for the organisation as the marketer, liaise with the stakeholders, generally the founder or another midline manager, and obviously take their input and their advice and guide what they're doing. Give them great advice. One of our core values is actually guide the way. And guide the way could actually be working ourselves out of a job. A great example of that is a client did try and hire me, and the answer was, I'm not going to jump on board. You need to hire an in-house resource. You don't need this agency. We can fill that gap, obviously, but we can do, in terms of an engagement, lead the whole product and deliver on the product, lead the product and work with other agencies to deliver their outcomes, or we can do part of the work. In-house takes care of part of the work. We can train staff coming in and taking over particular roles. It really depends on a couple of things. The first one is absolutely budget. The second is our resource and skill set. So we find that some business owners have desire, have no skill set, or have skill set, no time, and just can't do everything. So we try and fill the gap between what is the business trying to achieve and what's the best way for us to help them achieve that, using marketing as the answer.
Okay, thanks. And I've got to apologise. Anybody that's listened to this show before, they know there's set questions, and that last question came specifically because I've just come off a coaching call.
Right.
As I do, having a robust conversation with a client, so I'm going to get him to go and listen to this.
Okay, I'm very used to you going off tangent because I have watched the podcast, so I'm ready for you.
Well, let's go back a bit. So, really, if you think about it, you've started two businesses now. If you were to go back and start from scratch, how would you change aspects of your personal or leadership development? What would you prioritize now that you didn't know to prioritize then?
I feel really fortunate to share some of my insights with you today, because I really went into business thinking I'm pretty good. I'm good at my job. I'm a good marketer. I'm a good personal, engaging, personable person. I can work across pretty much any industry. Automotive, I'll struggle with, I'll give you that. But the biggest learning that I took away from these last 6 years, or the last 10 years really and longer, has been something I ignored. And that was find your personal work-life balance. Wow. Yeah. If my 32-year-old self could say something, it is definitely put time to prioritize your family. I have sacrificed an enormous amount of my family time. I have 2 children now. I have grown my business. I feel great about that. And they have suffered for that, for sure. I've missed those years. I can't get those back.
Yeah.
And if there was something I could offer someone, get the work-life balance more right. I am a very disciplined person. I'm a go, go, go until I just cannot physically go anymore. And I didn't put family into that mix. I don't want to sound like I've completely abdicated all responsibility of being a parent. That's not what I've done. But I have missed the school assemblies, the awards nights. I've not been present when they've probably really needed me. And to put this into context today, my son is finishing grade 6. He has his formal this afternoon.
Right.
I didn't have the formal date when I first booked this with you. And I thought, I'm going to miss him getting ready.
Oh.
No. You know what I did? I went, I'm going to change this. I'm not recording this in my office. I'm coming to my home.
Great.
And I'm going to finish our podcast, and I go straight into being mum and getting my son ready for his grade 6 formal.
What school's he at?
He's at Moss Vale Public.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say about the work. I don't believe as an entrepreneur you can have a work-life balance because, as you know, we never stop thinking about it. Having said that, one of the things, and I've been through I won't go through the story here, but I'm blessed. I've mentioned I'm a 63-year-old father of two 9-year-olds. One my daughter about to turn 10 next week, who we adopted when we were living overseas.
Amazing.
And the decision I took, because I made mistakes in the past, was that I'm in my home office. The reason I'm in and I've got to apologise, my alarm went off. That was my alarm saying OzTag in half an hour.
Thank you.
Because I coached my daughter's OzTag team. Most days, unless I'm away with clients, I'm here to greet them when they come home from school. I'll still go back to work, but I'll be here, sit up there, eat the lunch you didn't eat, all that sort of stuff. Same thing in the morning. I get them out of bed, make sure they have breakfast, make them lunch, drop them to school.
Yep.
And I really plan. So no one will get to me before 9:30 in the morning unless it's an emergency, because I then go for a walk or go to the gym.
Right.
Because I need to. But it's interesting, being very proactive in planning is so critical.
Yeah, definitely. I don't ever want to regret things in life. I take them as learnings, and that would be my number one.
It's
for
great.
anyone really
That's a great piece of advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I've had a bit of a look at your employees. What qualities do you look for in your employers? And given it's a remote team, how do you build a positive culture in the team?
Look, for me, I have always looked at younger talent that may not have university qualifications, but have great aptitude. And take these off. One of the things that I really do pride myself on, Jonathan, is that I didn't go to university. And I had to prove within my family that you can succeed without university. And I just worked hard. And marketing now for me is something I can teach. I've been teaching it for a very long time. And I look for aptitude. I can teach you anything. I look for desire to grow, to learn, to be hungry, to nurture people, to give people an opportunity. And I think that's really, it's a very Australian way of saying, focus on the underdog, give them a chance. But I think there's a lot of skilled people out there, and I think we should also be offering opportunities to people who perhaps haven't had the same opportunities in life. And that's certainly how I've recruited from Banter. So being in a regional town as well is difficult to find qualified staff in the exact area that you're looking for. We feel really strongly about our physical presence. I'm all for remote working. COVID taught me that we can do it. We've always been digital, but we are collaborative, and communication is way easier when you're together, and also difficult. Desk creep and desk bombing absolutely happens, but that is no different to me than every ding from every device asking me the same question that people would normally just call out across an office. So I absolutely look for the aptitude. And second to that is being okay to fail. People who are okay to get it wrong, say I got it wrong, and this is what I learned, and this is what we're all going to learn together, and let's not repeat this mistake again. That's actually really hard to ask of people. Admission to failure is hard. I've had to face that in the last couple of years, things that I've failed in doing or achieving, but not failure, if that makes sense. We'll come back to that again, I'm sure. I don't micromanage. So I look for people who are self-starters, who want to drive and succeed. And I'll give you all the rope to go and do it, as long as you can show me that I can trust you in that space. So no micromanagement, great leadership skills just from being human. And I'm not talking leadership by the book. I'm talking leadership by the human race and just being a good person. Yeah, that's recruitment.
Really good points. I mean, I coach that we hire based on values, which is the same thing you're talking about, and we can train anybody in productivity. It's spot on. So tell me, biggest learning since you've been a business owner?
Oh, this is a hard one to talk about, but I've written some notes, you see, because I wanted to be really prepared. And I would say there is a huge learning that I took away in the last 12 months, and that is that your employees are not your family. How do I caveat that with the learning? I love my team. I genuinely have love and care for them as as individuals. I do get to know them personally. We're in a regional town. Everyone's connected to everyone in some way, but it's also about being vulnerable with your team. And I'm not perfect, and I openly address that. And I mistook family. People will take care of themselves. Your team will prioritize their family. And I envy that. I envy that some of the people that have moved on in the years with me left for their good purpose of themselves. And I kept reflecting on what didn't I do? What didn't I do well enough, big enough, strong enough, quick enough? How did I fail them that I couldn't keep them? And I didn't fail them. I may have. They're never going to tell me the ultimate truth, I don't think. But I applaud them for doing what was right for them. And as much as it hurt me and it hurt my business at the time, you do recover. No one's irreplaceable. But to stop taking it so personally, everything felt like it was an attack on me. Very much Val, mum, owner, your fault. And that was hard. And I'm happy to share this story. I rang my counsellor. I think everyone should have an awesome therapist or counsellor somewhere in the line. And I rang her on a particular day and I said, Margaret, I need your help. I've got a dilemma happening, and it's not about work. It's not about my family. Sorry, it's about work. And she went, oh, we haven't had one of these before. Okay. And I haven't spoken to her in context for 4 years. So it's been out of the blue call. And I gave her a situation that was unfolding, and she said, oh, darling, you've mistaken it. It's got everything to do with your family. I'm like, what? She said, the way you're reacting is as if they're your family member, and they're not. So actually, let's look at these positives and life on the other side. And I think you've done an awesome job to even get this far. And there was this crushing moment. I was sitting in the car and I just thought, wow. And she said to me, all you've wanted your whole life is a really close connection with your family. So you treat people like your family members that you don't have. And you've just done the same thing in business.
It's like me.
Hello.
This is what they do at home, you see.
They get on earth out of that frame.
He doesn't want to say that. Thanks, mate. It's really interesting. There's a couple of really interesting points you just put up there. One is we learn most from our failures.
Yeah, we absolutely do.
And I certainly do. And, mistakes, failures, small, large, we learn most from them. Yeah, absolutely. They're not your family, and they have to make the right decisions for themselves.
They absolutely do. And a lot of the, LinkedIn posts or leadership books do talk about we're a team and a sports team and the best players on the team, and you respectfully let people go when they're not performing. And I always used to fight that analogy and think that is rubbish. If people aren't performing, let's look deeper into what's happened. They were performing at some stage, or they wouldn't have been there. So what's happened for them? Let's try and fix that. When you're doing that on a scale of lots of people, and then you're trying to merge and blur these lines between I am your workplace and I am being respectful, and I'm not going to delve into your personal life unless you want me to help. And then that's not scalable. And I'm a rather emotive person. So someone brings me a problem, it's absolutely my problem to fix. And then I've got their personal and their workload on top of that. And the only person that felt that they could fix it was me, which brings me to the next, what's my biggest learning? Believing I could do it all.
Yeah.
I truly believed I am a highly disciplined work ethic kind of individual. And I thought if I just work faster, if I work more hours, I'll get on top of it. You never get on top of it. The next thing just comes rolling through, and that list just gets longer and longer, and the overwhelm is inevitable.
And the other thing, putting my non-marketing hat on, is we'll always lose team members for whatever reason. So having a virtual bench is critical in any business. And what I mean by virtual bench is, you mentioned LinkedIn, having people there who are able and interested enough in your business that you can, I know where to go looking for that replacement. Having, someone, I do these podcasts on Tuesdays, and I do About 2 every fortnight. And one of the fellow I've just been speaking to in Dubai, who didn't realise it was actually quite amusing because he didn't realise it was being videoed. He'd only listened to it on Apple Podcasts before, and there he is at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he's in his unshaven, unshowered, in a t-shirt. That was fun. But he said to me, "Well, how do I do this in my business?" And I said, sorry, here's Doug.
Hello, how are you?
Do you know the thing Marty needs the instructions for the I forgot what it is.
Can I come and see you in about 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Thanks, Ducky. Do you ever see that the podcast of the guy in Korea, and he's pushing his child out of the way, and it's like, the mother's coming in trying to drag him? No.
Oh, the early days.
It is what it is. But no, yeah. So so I was talking to the person I was interviewing, and he said, "How do I do it?" And I said, "Well, the first thing I do is I only focus on the things that I'm really good at and I really like." An example being the podcast. The only bit in the podcast I do is this. Yes, I built a system. Yes, I designed the questions, but the only bit I now do is the interview because this is the bit I like. I think I'm pretty good at it. Everything else is outsourced, and I have this virtual team, and I've since changed it dramatically in that I've now found an outsourced team in the Philippines called, I'm going to give them a plug, Automation Agency, that does all my CRM, it does all of my web, it does all of my podcasts, and there's a dashboard here with 40 things, and they just churn through this stuff. And there's my virtual bench.
Yep.
One of my VAs leave, I don't need to retrain them because I've actually trained now an agency to do that.
Absolutely. So I'd love to jump on that because when I started Banter, what I felt very strongly about in this area was finding employment that didn't mean we were commuting to Sydney. It's only 110 kilometres and it's a 2.5-hour journey each way.
Yeah.
And I met my creative director by, first role, 6 weeks old. And she was ex-9 MSN and Pizza Hut and had great experience. And I remember just thinking, how have I found this pot of gold in this tiny little town? And we're all working mums. So none of us want full-time. We want the work-life balance. How are we going to do it? And that's what we were offering. So in the very early stages, offshoring was difficult for me to get my hands wrapped around as the concept because I really wanted to provide local jobs. That was so important at that time. COVID changed all of that. Everyone went remote. The workforce, the labour force shortage that we're seeing now, everything around the economic impact, I won't go into all of those external factors, but that absolutely changed my thinking, is to say, I do need a pool of resources. I cannot rely on one person. The best phrase that I had recently was skills are borrowed. And I watched lots of skills come in. I beefed up those skills. I gave everyone awesome opportunities to increase their employability, and then they left me. And what I took out of that was the family element, that heart crushing. How could you do this to me after everything I've invested in you? I'm just an employer like everybody else. And it's a great place to work. I have to remember some of the people that left me had been with me for 3 years or 5 years. How much more can you possibly ask from an employee to stay in one place?
That's right.
Hence me, on one side going, I'm a failure, on the other side going, no, hang on a minute. It's bloody great, actually.
And then your employers come back to you in 10, 15 years, as one of mine did just recently, and bought me lunch to say thank you. And now she's running a significant business. And it's like, oh, that was nice.
That was nice. And I have had that in my career in the past. I'm hoping that that's what I see in 10 years from Banter.
That's right.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are the main challenges you're facing now and in the near future?
Oh, goodness. For me, I thought I was scaling. I've read the books, Jonathan. It kills me. I know what I need to do and I didn't do it. So in terms of that best advice for entrepreneurs, people in business, don't just read. That is wasted knowledge. Without action, it is completely useless. And it's funny because in marketing, I say the same thing. Marketing without a strategy is shooting in the dark. So here I am going, I don't have a scale strategy and I didn't get my moving parts right. I did go in the traditional scale, and I have read your lovely ebook, and it's
thank you.
It's excellent. And actually, it takes 50 different leadership scaling books and just puts it into something that's readable on the couch, which is wonderful. I'm a slow reader. And you need process, you need people, you need midline managers. And I've been on the scale journey where I went from the comfortable 15 and I jumped to 21, and I did that in 6 months, and everything just died. It imploded on its own self. We were scrambling. The lines of communication weren't clear. I'm in a communications business and I'm pulling my hair out, and there's a lot to pull. And I couldn't get people to communicate properly. We had so many channels. COVID killed us from the channels. It was email, chat windows, text message, voice messages, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn messages. I had that many windows and beeps at me that I just shut the laptop lid and walked away and went, I am not coping with the demands being poked at me. And we found it really difficult. And what I did in the last 12 months was scale back. I went back to 15 and it's comfortable again. It's good.
You know, Val, you know, it's really interesting. In that ebook, I talk about the valleys of death.
Yes.
The valley of death is at 9. It's 9 FTEs. It's not 15.
Yep.
Yeah, the reason and you know, you should congratulate yourself, because if you think about you know, scaling in Australia, or actually Europe, UK, South America, Australia, only 0.04% of companies get over 9 employees. You know, which is
pretty wild.
Leads to a revenue number. You know, you are a very, very small percentage of companies in Australia where you are right now, and you know, all the complexity comes from the number of employees, as you've just identified. I would argue that if you don't have a chief of staff or a 2IC right now with 14, 15 staff, you know, you'll be doing it tough as we speak.
And up until January, I didn't have that role. I now have a great GM, and we have really just divided and conquered the requirements of running the business.
Yeah.
And then I go back to what you had said earlier, you know, you do the things that you enjoy the most. And one thing that I'd started from day dot was I hate doing the financials. I cannot.
Exactly right. Fine.
And I hired an accountant as quickly as I took out software and I hired an accountant, you know. I wasn't messing around. I wish that I had done that with all the other parts that I'm not loving.
Yep.
But instead, because I'm capable, I think I can, I'll learn, I'll grow, I'll develop.
This is a unique ability. You know, what are you good at and what are you passionate about?
Yeah.
You know, I'm good at doing what I'm doing now. I'm good at being a coach. I'm good at developing really actionable one-page tools.
Yep.
All the other stuff I'm not. I delegate a lot. You know, outsource a lot. And I'm a much happier chappy because of it.
Yeah, and to
much more productive. So I tell you what, next week I think it is, I'm doing an hour and a half with a couple of people on putting a one-page strategic plan together for 2024. Come along.
Well, tomorrow I'm running my strategic planning day with my management team at home as an offsite, and it's 3 pages of this is what we're doing. Let's prioritize it. Let's carve it up. Let's start doing it. I cannot stand talking without action.
Yeah, and that's exactly right.
Yep.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So tell me, when you think of the word successful, who comes to mind and why?
Oh, I see success in many different ways. Financials for me are not success. You can have all the money in the world and be miserable. Success for me is the balance of what I feel is an achievement within my purpose and my work, and having a good life. And what having a good life means something different to different people. For others, it's over.
Val?
Wrong, but.
Sorry, you just cut out there, Val, for a moment. So you cut out having a good life.
Having a good life. And for some people, having a good life might be international holidays. And for me, it's 2 days sitting in my pool without a single person asking me for a single thing ever. I see there's a lady called Chelsea Pottinger from EQ Minds. She's down on the South Coast, if you want to check her out.
Yep.
I look at her and think she has got it right. Now, She is a mental health and wellness coach and presenter, amongst other things. She's a mum. She flies to travel quite a lot, but she does prioritize her family, and she does spend fabulous quality time with her family. And I see what she puts out socially. Obviously, that's where I follow her the most.
Yep.
And I really commend the position that she takes with her business. And she's not trying to grow into some big behemoth. She's trying to deliver her purpose. And so I do see her as someone that is really successful. I look at others perhaps more in the well-known celebrity status, and celebrity not being by reality TV, by business. And I do think, I know you are surrounded by helpers to achieve these great goals. And I don't necessarily want that, but it's easy to look at people like that and think, how did they do that on their own? And they're not on their own.
No, they're not.
No, they're not. And they're not by a long shot. And I think I really have come from a background which is the only person you can rely on is yourself. That's probably held me back. That's probably a limiting belief, definitely. And it is unfortunately a default position for me. I have been let down in the past. I have put in line leaders that have let me down. I gave them so much responsibility because I needed to. It was my own self-preservation. And what happened with that is they too imploded because I wasn't supporting them either. I wish that I didn't have that belief that, oh, well, if you're not going to do it, you're not going to do it well, then it's mine, and back away and being the martyr. That's something I have to personally work on. And it's why I brought up having a therapist. You know, a lot of people think you've totally broken if you've got a therapist, and actually they're really great at just making you see what's in front of you isn't perhaps as black and white as what you thought, or why you believe certain things are the way they are. Now, can I bring in a book to show as a plug?
Yeah.
I actually order this. I've got this in bulk, and if you look on my bookshelf, you can probably see the rest of them. It's called Useful Beliefs. It's by Chris Helder.
Okay.
Chris Helder is based in Noosa. He does fly around the world speaking, and I've been on a speaking tour with him in the past and watched him present what useful beliefs actually is about. And we have limiting beliefs, and we need to understand where they come from as to why we believe that's the way it is. And you need to overcome those beliefs if you're going to grow. And I remember, this is a quick read. It's an hour's read for me, and I'm a slow reader. And it changed my life. It changed my life so much that I've ordered 20 copies. They just sit there in a box. Every new employee gets a copy. People that I meet who are just struggling in life, it doesn't even have to be business. I go, just read this, pop the kettle on, go to the garden, change your life. And it does. People have given me that feedback to say I've reframed the way I'm thinking. And Chris is a very powerful speaker and presenter. I think what people need to understand, and it does, you know, this is where the ongoing topic of mental health comes back into things as well. They are all intertwined. A healthy mind, a healthy body, healthy outcome, healthy management, healthy business. All of those things come from how are you wired, and you're wired when you're young. Have you addressed any of the things that may or may not have happened to you, all those limiting beliefs throughout your growth years, and then how you're applying that in business can fundamentally change. I think a lot of entrepreneurs think I'm excellent at my job, which is why I'm going to go out and do this on my own and leave the corporates, but they've forgotten what wraps that success entirely. So focus on what you're great at. And for me, that's a marketer and being with people and guiding their way. And I need to surround myself with very capable people who can do all the other moving parts.
Absolutely. I've just bought Useful Beliefs. Thank you. And it's interesting to say that, you know, I have a number of books that I give away.
I would have dropped you a copy if I'd known that's what you were doing.
Yeah, right. Hard to see that. Right now,
yep.
figures from Marshall Goldsmith. Another one is, Legacy by, got his first name Webb, who he was a leadership coach who was embedded with the All Blacks for a year. Scaling up, of course. Highly recommend that. You know, this is, and I've got, as like you, I've got boxes full. I'm going to come back to something you've jumped on a couple of times, and I've mentioned this in the podcast before. Go and look at a podcast by Hamish Blake.
Yeah.
Called How Other Dads Dad.
Oh yes, you have mentioned that.
Yeah. Hamish Blake, How Other Dads Dad. and go and look at the Rob Stitch, the first one he ever did with Rob Stitch.
Yep.
And the other one that stands out to me is with Cam, the guy from the block.
Scotty Cam.
Scotty Cam.
Scotty Cam.
Go and listen to those two. You've got, your kids are of an age, and particularly your daughter, where some of those lessons will really, really stand out for you. And there's some extraordinary aching moments in both those about, well, it's how other dad's dad, but about parenting.
Okay, thank
I
you.
just find phenomenal. So have a look at both.
Oh, that sounds good. Thanks.
I recommend them. And it's it's, as you say, it's all about being there, but it's also one of the things that Scott Cam talked about, which really he doesn't come across as this sort of character, but he talks about the relationship with his wife, with his daughter, his wife with with their son, and how right now at your son's age, that relationship is going to flip between you and your husband.
Yep.
The boy thing. And he talks about date nights with his daughter, and I think there's some really interesting insights in there.
Oh, look, I love that you've brought up that topic around that. I think my relationship with my own parents and my husband's relationship with his have really crafted how we've approached parenting. And I absolutely had postnatal depression after both children. And I'll never forget saying to my husband in floods of tears, "I'm so sorry that I've failed. The doctor thinks I have depression and I need to take medication." And he just looked at me and he went, "What's the problem?"
Exactly right.
Wow. I was expecting World War III to open up, and he just said, "You'll get past this. We'll do this together." And he said to me, "I'd like to be a stay-at-home dad. You go back to work and I want to take care of the kids full time." And again, I'm like, what? Best thing ever. We went through significant gender appreciation of traditional roles.
Yep.
Where I knew hands down that he had the tougher job.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm jumping in a lovely car with the
Absolutely.
radio and a couple of cups of coffee, long phone calls with my friends. He hasn't had 2 minutes, and I know he hasn't had 2 minutes because I've done that too. And having that appreciation of what that really meant, the dynamic of our relationship is wonderful. My daughter openly says she prefers to spend time with my husband than me. I'm okay. She'll come back. And my son is absolutely a mummy's boy. But the way Dad interacts and engages and takes them a very special time together. He's quite an amazing human, and I wish that I could take more of those traits and attributes from his behaviour.
So you need to make sure he listens to this podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure he knows how I feel. That's the other thing, is he is quite, he's ex-military, ex-British military. He has a discipline like no other. And yet he has a way of being so calm in such inflamed situations. He's not immune. He's not robotic. He just has a different approach to me, and learning that there's that difference, that I know I could be right, but actually there's always two sides to a story and different points of view. And that's where business is lonely like that. Those learnings were that I imploded in my own self because I didn't reach out to my networks and actually call on people. And my lovely husband was doing so much with our family that I didn't want to burden him by talking work. And, one of those key learnings that I'd love to put out there for people, if you are considering a business coach, please get one. Because huge mistake. I wish I had a business coach when I was 4 people, not when I was 11 and struggling. Don't wait to struggle for the help. I started my business coach's relationship with, "I don't believe that you're going to tell me anything that I don't know. Don't tell me to be disciplined and to, prioritize and urgent, important and blah, 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 all the typical stuff. I do that day in, day out. It's, I'm methodical. And he just gave me a different perspective of what it was going to take. And I just wish that I had that foresight to hire him a lot earlier.
Yeah, I think that's it's a really good point, but I'm going to throw a bit of a caveat in there. One of the things about when you've got 4 staff, you normally don't have a huge revenue, and therefore you may not be able to afford the business coach you actually need. And then that's one of the reasons this podcast. Like, if you think about it, there's 114, whatever it is. Half an hour, 40 minutes with founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs. The insights that are coming out of just this podcast alone, this episode alone, is extraordinary. There's just be what do they call cash is king, and growth sucks cash. There is that, and I talk a lot about virtual mentors. A number of virtual mentors, or quite a few virtual mentors. I always have a coach. Yep. I've just signed with a new coach today, as it turns out, for next year. But it is, the revenue is an important thing.
It is, and it's part of the leap of faith, I think, that we take in business. Do we invest in the tech before we have the need for the tech? Do I invest in the people before I have sales? Do I wait for the sales, kill off the staff that I already have because we're going to be overrun? What do you do first? And I don't know if you have an answer to that, because I don't know that there is.
No, look, it's horses for courses.
It is.
It is very much, and I'll just quickly bear with me for a moment.
No, that's right. With my business coach, I remember signing up for a 6-month agreement and thinking, if you can prove to me that you're worth it in 6 months, then we'll talk.
Yeah. And
I stayed with him for probably 3.5 years.
Which is fabulous. And please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't get a business coach. I'm saying just be careful. But these are some questions I've just been going through with my clients. This is the agenda for this week. And this is where you asked me. So reflect on the past year. Pride and gratitude. What are the top 3 best things, biggest wins this year? Growth. And what are the biggest challenges you've grown through, and what did you learn? Incompletes. What unfinished business do you have? I should send this for you for tomorrow. Aspirations. What are your top 3 business and personal aspirations for next year? There's some things about how you want your numbers to be different. What do you want your marketing to? How do you want your marketing to be different? Because of course everything is downstream from lead generation. How do you want your impact to be different? How do you want your lifestyle to be different? What do you want more of? What do you want less of?
There's such good questions, and I have prepped my answers exactly like that for tomorrow.
Exactly right. But you also want the team to be thinking the same.
Yes, you need the alignment
and to help you. And also, over the break, where are you going to spend? How are you going to spend your time? Hey, listen, you're going to go and be with your son, and for this special day, I've got one last question.
Oh, that's okay. I've got time because I came home, so I didn't have this travel time, and I'm good.
Okay, but one last question. Any last piece of advice or parting words to aspiring entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs growing their business out there?
Look, definitely to have a coach or a confidant, someone that you can talk to. I was talking to the wrong people, and they too were feeling overwhelmed by what I was downloading, and I didn't necessarily need them to have answers. I just needed someone to listen and help me defrag it. And actually, the more I talked about it, the more I came to my own conclusion about the right approach to take. So it is lonely at the top. Find people that you can talk to, and whether that be your coach or your therapist, one of those people is actually a really good person. Don't give up. It's really tough out there in the current market. That's coming from every industry that I speak to. And if I could put my marketing hat on, and I say this to so many clients, if I told you that if you spent $20,000 in this area of marketing and it gave you X result, how many bundles of $20,000 would you drop at my front door tomorrow? And they always say, have as many as you want. And I think about my business in the same way now that I've gone through all the hardships, to go, which comes first, the team, the tech, the process. If I spent $20,000 today to avoid the next 12 months of growing pains, would you spend it? And my answer is take my money. In fact, take 50 grand. And I will find it, I will borrow it if it means that I can fix all of those issues.
Yeah.
So,
and you're spot on.
You have to back yourself. You backed yourself in the first place to go into business.
Yeah.
But you have to be.
I've just told you I signed up for my coach for this year, $2,500 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing I'm going to finish with, Val, is one of the key things I coach is who, not how, or who before how.
Who before,
who before how. You know, we can't expect to know everything. You know, that's not, you know, and that's one of the mistakes that founders make often. Go and find the who's. So if you are a size business where you haven't got a marketing manager or haven't got a fully formed marketing team, think who before how. Go and find the experts to help you. You know, and you know, and who will accelerate you. You don't need to go and do it all yourself.
Such a good reminder. And as I come into those last few weeks of the year when you start to, well, hopefully mentally wind down as well, they're good lessons for me to keep repeating, because it's easy to feel G'd up. And, you know, like I said, you've listened to a podcast, you've read the book, you've highlighted lots of things, you've put Post-it notes on pages to go back to them. And then you get in the grind and actually all the goodness, you know, the goodness, you've just been caught up in the day-to-day, and you work on the business, not in the business, of course, all of those things, but we can't do it all. And I have definitely acknowledged that this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Val, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you.
It's been really nice to talk to you too. Thank you for making my hero dreams come true.
And listen, thank you. You know, I'm always amazed. You know, as I said, episode number 113. There are always things that come out, new learnings in every single one of these, which is why I love doing it. So thank you.
So great. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
If you are hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We hope you enjoyed this new episode, and if you did, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you watch/listen. It helps this channel more than you know, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the learning gets. Please share this episode with others who may be interested in entrepreneur stories of scaling up. If you want to be a guest on the podcast, please send an email to admin@scaleupgrowth.co. Put "be a guest" in the subject line and tell me a little about yourself. If you want to gauge where your business growth potential is and identify where the biggest opportunities in your business lie, or where the key needs that you need to concentrate on right now are, take our assessment where you will receive personalized advice for improvement. It's quick and free. Go to scaleupgrowth.scoreapp.com. If you would like to work with me one-to-one, I love coaching and get the best outcomes that way. Send me an email at jonathan@scaleupgrowth.co and put one-to-one in the heading. Tell me a bit about your business and let's see how we can apply a great strategy for your business. So that's it for this week. Tune in next time for more great learnings from a scaling entrepreneur.